Back. Good morning, team. What is going on? Happy Sunday to my UK, US, Canadian brothers and sisters, and to our legends in Australia. Good morning, guys. I hope you're having a beautiful, beautiful start to today. We're going to be starting on this episode in 2 minutes. We're a little bit earlier than we normally are on the Australian Monday, but I really wanted to get to this topic, and I think it's a brilliant, brilliant episode. I might even suggest that this might be the most important episode that I've ever done, particularly if you're a parent. So if you're coming into this one live, guys, you know the drill. You know the drill. Get into those comments. Let us know that you're here and ready to rock and roll, and I'm super freaking pumped to be in here. Hello, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, who we got in here? Guys, if you are watching this one live, make sure that you get down into the comment section there and just let us know that you are live. Say hello. It's always like a good feeling to know who is actually tuning in so I can speak to those individuals. If you do watch this one on replay, make sure you hashtag replay into the comments. We are a little bit earlier than normal, like I said, and there's a reason for it. Basically, it's a Sunday here, and I'm trying to get the balance right with my family as well, which, as we know, is a challenge. And ironically, this is a little bit what this podcast episode is about. So let's do the highs, and then we'll get stuck into the episode. So good morning, Nicky boy. How are you, mate? Good morning, Kevy G. Hello, Cherie. Lovely to have your company here, and fantastic message that you sent through the success team just now. Hello, Troy. What's going on, big dog? I hope you're well. Hey, Toddy. How are you, mate? Hey, Toddy. Side note, I spoke to my brother yesterday for a crazy amount of time. It was really, really nice as a catch up. And he said, dude, like, that guy is probably your biggest advocate. He said, for a guy that was like how you were before, like with your health, to what you are now and still enjoying a beer, he said, dude, it's unbelievable to see. So that coming from my brother, who doesn't dish out compliments too frequently, yeah, crazy. All right, so we're going to get started in 20 seconds, guys. Evening to whoever this is. There should be a restream link above here that you can click so we can see who it actually is. Claire Duncan, good morning to you. I hope you're well. Loz Taylor's in here as well. Christy's in here as well. Guys, there's 13 or 14 people watching live. If you haven't said hello, get into the comments and say hi. Stop being so mean. All right, let's go. I reckon we're ready to rock and roll. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Today, in this episode, we are going to be going deep. Firstly, I just want a couple of points. Hope you had a really good restful weekend. Remember, like, I think a lot of people think that transformation or weight loss or weight management is about being 100% all the time. It is not. It is not. It's about balance. So I hope you got a bit of a rest in this weekend. Second thing is, if you are one of our Better Body Academy clients and you haven't yet watched, due to your busyness, the squat masterclass that we ran on Friday, it was like really, really solid. I've had a number of people send me feedback about how good it was. And how instantly over the weekend they've actually changed some things about their squatting during their training sessions, and it's helped massively. So thanks to Coach Troy for joining me on that. Get and watch that replay, guys. It's really, really important. Now, today's topic, we're going to be going deep. This comes from a conversation that I had with Cordia this morning. And if this hits, the reason I said that this is, I think, the most important podcast, maybe the most important podcast episode that I've ever done, is it might actually change your entire approach to transformation. We're going to be going deep. And it's particularly important if you've got kids under the age of about 10 to 15, or if you don't have kids, but you are a role model, maybe an uncle or an aunt or a grandpa or a grandmother to younger kids. I wanted to introduce you to an idea that I've never heard talked about, and I'm going to call it your HQ, which we're going to get into. Now, to all of you that are watching this, whether you're watching live on replay or listening to the audio version of the podcast, I have this challenge for you. And I absolutely mean this. Like, if you could just do this and do it for me, which inevitably benefits you, I really mean this. I challenge you that if you have a partner, to send this episode to your partner to listen to. Not because you think they should listen to it, but because it was your coach's instruction to do so. To be clear, I want them to blame me if they disagree with anything said in this episode. I want to cop the flack. You're just the postman or postwoman delivering it. This episode may save your kids from bullying, It may save your kids from 10 years of fighting with themselves. It may save their life. But I repeat, if you're listening to this podcast, I command you to share this episode with your partner without thinking. So let's get stuck into this. Let's talk about life outcomes. So when we think about our life, most of us would really like to improve the quality of our life if we saw gains in a few main areas. If we have, more money or a better job or business, if we had stronger relationships with those that matter, if our health was better, which allowed us to do and experience more, would we have an overall better life? I think it's kind of ironic when people say things like, money doesn't buy happiness. Yet those same people spend all of their time working endless hours to get more money. Like, think of the contradiction there. Of course money doesn't buy happiness. No shit. But it makes life a little bit more comfortable. I think it's funny when people say they don't care what other people think, yet they get themselves into tens of thousands of dollars of debt trying to increase their status. I think it's funny when people say, I don't care if I'm overweight, I'm happy. Yet they complain when they don't fit into their clothes anymore, how traveling on planes is unbearable, and how they got bullied as a kid. The truth is, we would all like to raise our quality of life just a little bit because we think it might give us a bit more happiness or freedom or enjoyment. When I look at my own life over the last 5 years, I've had a significant upgrade in the quality of my life, and it's because of the areas that have gone up in health, wealth, and relationships. My status has improved. My health, touch wood, I feel strong. I feel healthy. I can push myself because I know how to train and eat and generally exist. My relationships, I recognize the patterns that I went in, which were toxic before, and I've now found a partner who is my equal. I'm in close proximity to the people that boost my life. People like Coach Mike, for example. Okay? And my wealth production has improved because I'm doing something that I truly believe in, and the conviction is here. And when you exchange value in the real world, you get repaid in money in abundance. I'm not happy every day. Honestly, I'm not happy every day. But my life, it's draining, it's challenging, it's mentally difficult, but I love it when I take a moment to stop and appreciate it. So when we ask ourselves, what separates us from our next level? Like, I want to get there with my health, or I want to get there with my money, or I want to get there with my career, or wherever you're wanting to get to, whatever would represent your next level. What separates you is having the skill set and the mindset of what the person at the next level possesses. Factually, and that same thing applies to me as well. So if, for example, you're currently earning 75K a year and you want to earn 150K a year, you want to double your earnings, what's stopping you? Just ask yourself at the moment, in your current job, what's stopping you? It might be that positions are capped, so you need to find another career. But for the most part, the things that are stopping people, two categories, is mindset, self-belief that you can do it, resilience to cop the failure, being able to create a vision for yourself. So it's the mindset, and it's the skill set, developing the core skills that would give you a pay rise or be able to start you out in another industry. Or it might be to start a business in whatever interest or passion that you've got. And it's the same for health. What's stopping you from becoming a Nick Friend or a Linda Jane's dropping a bunch of weight, maintaining it, and beginning to thrive and challenging yourself further? It's the same two things. It's the mindset, the self-belief that you can actually do it, being able to move through all that failure. And it's the skill set, developing core skills like tracking your nutrition, how to lift weights properly, how to boost your metabolism, being able to make better choices when you go out. If you agree that this is true, the thing that stops you from getting to the next level is your mindset and your skill set. Let me ask you a question. Do you think your kids' quality of life would be impacted by your quality of life? Let me know in the comments. It might sound like an obvious yes, but there might be people that disagree with that. Do you think that your quality of life impacts your kids' quality of life? Let me make this more pointed, okay? If you struggle in a certain aspect like health, do you think it's more likely or less likely that they will struggle? Let me get like super triggering. If you're overweight or unhealthy, how likely is it that your kids would be? The answer is almost certainly. Why is this true? Because it comes back to a mindset and a skill set. If you've failed to solve the problem at this point in your life, then your kids are inheriting the problem in theirs. You're passing it down to your kids. I want you to think back to and I'm not saying that that's your fault, by the way. I want to make this point. I want you to think back to your childhood, which might be really tough for some people. All of the things that you struggle with now, are they a product of what you learned as a kid? In our mastermind program, we talk about trauma and we talk about how it becomes baggage that we carry through life like a heavy backpack. Often we can trace our own emotional eating, alcohol use, lack of self-esteem, that feeling of like I'm not good enough that plagues us, directly back to how we were parented and the behaviors and the attitudes that we developed as a consequence of what we went through ourselves. How many of us right now, are still dealing with the exact same issues that we faced as a teenager? Like honestly, how many of us have spent the last 10 to 20 years struggling with our weight, dealing with our emotions, wishing we felt better about ourselves? If you could wind the clock back and ask your parents to teach you how to be healthier, do you think that might have led to a more enjoyable upbringing or journey through adulthood? If we could rewind the clock and you could ask your parents to do that, imagine instead right now you were feeling amazing and you were able to tackle the world with a level of energy and optimism on most days. Maybe you knew how to read food labels and you could cook healthfully. It was second nature. You knew how to train properly. You didn't have all the struggles that you currently have. Imagine your parents had given you that intelligence. How different might your life be if you weren't starting behind the 8 ball? Now, I want to address the big fat elephant in the room. The reason your parents didn't teach you, and guys, this is where the podcast gets so important. I want you to have a realization here. The reason your parents didn't teach you how to do those things wasn't because they didn't love you. It was because they didn't know themselves. They just did the best they could with what they knew. You can't teach your kids what you don't know. You can't teach your kids to be healthy if you don't know how to be healthy yourself. You can't teach your kids how to earn more money if you don't know how to earn more money yourself. My guess is one of the reasons that certainly it's a driver for me, that we work so hard is to provide a standard of living for our kids that elevates the one that we had. Right or right? What I also know is that they model everything that I do. So my teaching comes from less about what I tell them and more about what I show them. And if you are looking for purpose in your health journey right now, try this on. By you learning how to be healthy, you are doing all that you can to help your kids avoid all of that trauma that you have been through. Regardless of where you are in your journey, you're helping them avoid the pain that you went through. If you want to do the best by your kids, it's your responsibility to learn, to teach, and to model them for a level above what you had. Here's the truth, okay? Every adult has the option to choose how they want to live. That's nobody else's business, right? I'm not saying you should listen to me. You do what you want. I'm here to educate for the people that want it. You have the option to choose what you want to do. That's nobody else's business. But every parent, in my opinion, has the responsibility to raise their kids in a way that sets them up for the best life they can have. And isn't that what all parents actually want? But every parent can only teach their kids to the level of their own intelligence, nothing beyond that. You can't teach your kids to be more intelligent than you are. That's a contradiction. So the question, is your best giving them your current level of intelligence, or is it to give them a level of intelligence that helps them to overcome the stuff that you had to deal with growing up? And you know what? That requires a united front. You can't have one parent setting the bar and the other one lowering it. And a simple example of this today in my own life, we're in a restaurant this morning for lunch. Cordia asked Ocean to put her shoes on in the restaurant. Ocean replied, "But Daddy's got his shoes off." Instantly, Cordia's instruction is invalidated, completely invalidated. When it comes to health, our kids might see one parent being active, eating well, processing their emotions well, but the other one not. What do you think the kid thinks? But Daddy's not, or but Mummy's not. Here's one benefit to being a single parent. If you're literally parenting 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, you control everything. Now, this is a really awkward discussion to have with your partner. And it's the reason that I'm doing this episode is because I know a lot of us feel some friction between the fact that we don't want to be telling our partner what to do, or we don't want to be like the Mormon preaching health to our partner when they're not ready. So I'm asking you to just pass this on so that any criticism of this podcast episode is directed at me, not for you suggesting that they need to get on board. I know that most parents would sacrifice themselves, completely sacrifice themselves for the love of their kids. That's what we do as parents, right? But what if that's the fundamental error? What if sacrificing yourself, your health, is the exact opposite of what they need? What if by your sacrifice of your health, they are learning the same pattern? What might seem like parenting with integrity might actually be a detriment. Do you understand what I mean here, guys? When you're sacrificing yourself for your kids, are you actually doing them a favor or an injustice? That's like a deep, deep triggering thought. We are very lucky to live in an age, guys, where we have access to information. Most parents send their kids to school or college or university to give them an IQ, build their academic intelligence so that they've got the skills to navigate life, follow a career that they would maybe like. There's a lot of parents out there, usually it's driven by the mum more so than the dad as a generalization, that are trying to give their kids a higher EQ or emotional intelligence so that when they get bullied, they're able to relate to their circumstances a little bit better. They can build stronger relationships. If kids have big feelings, they're able to process them in a healthier way. And they're able to thrive in a world where bullying and social media and suicide are actually real. But I want to present to you this idea that there's another form of intelligence. Let's call it HQ or health quotient. This would be your kid's ability to maintain mental and physical health throughout their life. And you can be sure as hell that school will not teach it, nor is it school's responsibility to teach it. You're the one that does the shopping. You're the one that packs the lunch. You're the one that puts the spoon in your kid's mouth. You're the one that sets the standard. Health intelligence is in the hands of us as parents, and the best way to teach it is to be it and model it. And this doesn't mean that you can't enjoy a croissant or a beer, both of which I enjoyed over the weekend. It means that those things are part of an overall balanced strategy, and we teach our kids in the right format. It doesn't mean that you've got a set of abs. It means that you treat your own mind and body with respect. And in return, it continues to work for you, not against you. It means that your kids don't need to go through the years and years and years of yo-yo dieting and weight struggles like you did or you are because they've learned the basic principles of self-management and it trickles down to them. And so to all of you that say, I'm just not motivated, maybe the purpose that you are looking for lies well beyond you. As a parent, you will go through sleepless nights and tiresome days for your kids, right? All of us do that. And if the takeaway of this podcast is you realize that your commitment to your health journey goes far beyond you, your capacity to avoid, I want you to imagine being able to look back at 70 or 80 years old and seeing yourself raise, 30, 40, 50-year-old kids that have avoided the struggles that you went through forever because of you giving them a health intelligence when they were young. And to all of those of you that have these momentary glimpses of your kids copying you, I want you to raise your hand and I want you to say, that's me. Regardless of where you are in your journey, kids picking up their little mini dumbbells like Steve's kids do, asking to come to the gym with you, happily eating the same healthy foods as you. Congratulations, because you are directly giving them the education that they need to avoid the pain that you went through. And if you get both parents on board and you're in a relationship, this is massively amplified. The kids, they don't really have an option because this is all they see. So what do you do now after this episode? Maybe just procrastinate a little bit on it. Think about it a little bit. Think about the power, if I haven't said it enough, the power that you have. Everyone thinks about the inheritance they give their kids, the money left over. And that's great. That's important. But imagine just giving your kids the gift of them avoiding all of the things that you're currently paying for coaching for. To elevate their status through how you model. This is a type of leadership that goes beyond anything that we can comprehend. This is the highest form of love and parenting. And so I wanted to come in and do this podcast because I know it's a struggle for a lot of us to we question why are we doing this? And particularly when it gets tough and we go through plateaus and it's a challenge. But I just want you to reflect on how your life might be different if your parents, and it's not that they did you wrong intentionally, but if they were able to give you these skills, and as a consequence, they avoided all pain because of you, as in all struggle at that low level that you've had to go through. The self-image struggles, the bullying struggles. And it's not that you can fix everything, and that's not your job. But giving them the skills and the mindset, the intelligence that school gives them, combine that with the emotional intelligence, and every time you catch yourself reacting, and I do it often, I'm not immune to this at all. I'm quite bad at it actually. But then I catch myself and go, stop, that's not how to model parenting. And then when I think of health, it's imagine your kids, all they see is just they don't know anything else. My kids are lucky enough that I don't have any problems with iPad usage because we just don't give it to them. And I'm wholly aware that when they become exposed to school, that will change. But then rather than hiding away from it, if we could model it, I'm going to use Luke's comment here because this is absolutely beautiful. It's not what you leave your kids, it's what you leave in your kids. I mean, that is fucking... that summarizes the episode in 7 or 8 words. Guys, I think that as a mission, I want Better Body Academy to stand for something that's much greater than a weight loss program. Because for me, it's okay, yeah, you lost weight, congratulations, 20 kilos down, I feel better. Okay, that's good. That's a great achievement. But imagine, I'm an uncle, and because of my influence, I changed everything for my entire family line. That power is You can't be paid any amount of money. And to all of those of you, and I know that there are a bunch of people here right now that are watching on live that have directly been responsible for someone else joining Better Body Academy because of their results. People like Luke, people like Steve. People have joined because of you. You have impacted their life, which is great for a distant friend. Imagine that person's your fucking son or daughter. Like, yeah. I'm going to get like a little bit emotional if I keep going down this line, because people think about influence in the wrong way. Cherie says this hits hard. Yeah, it does, Cherie, because, and Cherie, I just want to elaborate on a point, and we're kind of ad-libbing a little bit now, is that Cherie mentioned, and she sent a note to us prior to this and said, look, I think I've found my why, basically. I was talking about my kids and doing things for my kids, and actually I realized that I've got to do this for me. Yep, and here's the writing between the words, Cherie. The reason you, inverted commas, do it for your kids is actually for yourself. Because when you meet your maker, and my greatest fear is leaving my kids. That's like my greatest fear in the world. I know that that's the case for Luke. I know that that's the case for Claire. My greatest fear in the world is leaving my kids. But if as a consequence of whenever your time is up, you can leave knowing that you've done your absolute best, like, isn't that just the most satisfying? You might have tons of money in your bank account, but isn't that just the most satisfying thing you could ever think about on your deathbed? Is like, literally, I gave my kids my best, and not just the best that I have now. I continued to grow and learn so that I could continue to pass that on. I'm going to finish the podcast there. I'd love to chat to any of you after this podcast that want to continue the discussion. And I really do request, for those of you that are listening to this podcast, think not about the role that your partner has. Just send them the podcast. Just share this podcast to your wall. Because if you impact the life of one person, and maybe that is your partner, the amplification for your kids is going to go through the roof. But you just might impact someone that you don't even know about to get them to think about health in a very different way. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast, coming to you on a Monday morning or a Sunday afternoon for some of you. We'll see you in the next episode. So guys, kind of thoughts on that. I'm just going to go back over and read a couple of comments because, look, I don't profess to be the parenting expert. I'm not. I've got a lot to learn. And if I look at myself versus my partner, as a parent, like, she's the one that does all of the reading, the kind of conscious parenting stuff. But isn't that in itself an example, right? She's elevating my parenting. So I could say that I'm elevating her health with my constancy, but she's elevating my parenting, my emotional intelligence, because I'm in her direct company. That's just a perfect example. So imagine, you're able to, by your proximity and your leadership, you're able to elevate your partner's health status and thus the trickle down to your kids. In return, your partner might be amplifying your love, and you should recognize them for that. So it's not just about health. Your partner might be the one that's driving the tertiary education to give them a greater academic intellect, and that deserves commendation. This is a very much a 360 approach. Just might read a couple of comments. Luke, I just want to say, if you're still watching on, man, that is such a profound comment. It's not what you leave your kids, it's what you leave in your kids. Dude, that's like beyond powerful. Jace, those tears hit so hard. I give them every day, but I lacked the health side of it. One of the lessons that we've got to learn as humans is that the past does not predict the future unless we let it. Okay? Like, sometimes, here's what happens, right? We can't fix anything until we become conscious of it. Like, the vast majority of us are just operating in like kind of like a no man's land. We wake up and it's not that we're trying to do bad by anyone. It's just that we actually haven't had that moment where we go smack and hit the wall and go, hang on, I'm choosing to live this way. I'm choosing to put up with a boss that doesn't appreciate me. I'm choosing to put up with a partner that abuses me. Like I'm not saying it's an easy exit of those things. I'm not saying that, not for 1 second saying that. But a lot of those things we're choosing. And it's not till we go smack and we become just like into consciousness that we actually realize, hang on, this is a choice. The problem is a lot of us wait until that smack comes via way of something that just completely reshapes our world. Like a death, a sickness, a car crash, like something that really jolts us into existence in the present. If we can realize like right now, and it's hard, the hardest thing about staying present and staying more aware is remembering to stay more aware. Because the moment you let your guard down, what happens is you go back into the old, same as me. I talk about these things with you guys, but then Ocean will come back up here. She'll start gnawing on her brother's leg or whatever, and I react. But what happens is as you get more conscious, you catch your reaction. And when you catch your reaction, you're then in a position to actually do something about it, which is the point. But until you realize what's happening, you can't. And this is what we talk about in the mastermind when we mean be the watcher. I want you to imagine right here, this is me speaking to you, but then I pull myself out of my body, and back here in the corner, this is a bit weird, but back here in the corner is a third person that's watching this conversation. And this person is watching, and it's always watching your life, monitoring how you do the things you do. Once you develop the ability to watch yourself, that's what we mean by awareness. The ability to monitor how you react, how you think. And when you do that, you become able to change your circumstances. I might just go through a couple of comments. Mine and Matt's daughters have already started wanting to become healthier. Okay, so Claire, you take your circumstance. You know, you and I have a unique relationship where it's very trusting and we go back and forward a lot. And you were stuck for a very long period of time. And maybe the stuckness was just that you didn't consciously realize that you were choosing to stay stuck. That's not a criticism in any fashion. That's not saying it's easy in any fashion, because you inherited the stuckness. You only just did what your parents told you, right? That's it. But then you become, bang, conscious, and you can actually do something about it. The 10-year-old has started asking us to buy unlimited things like strawberries and grapes, which he's never done before. And the great thing about that, Claire, is that, and this is what a lot of people like who make health super difficult, literally if you did this one thing, okay? Stop eating things in packets. It is very, 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 very hard to overeat whole foods. To anyone that's tried to eat a 500-gram steak or 500 grams of chicken, it's hard because it's like, it's work. Where we've been buckled as a society is something called ultra-processed foods. These foods have so much sugar and fat in them that they have changed the way our brain responds to our taste signals and cause us to want to eat more and more and more and more and more. And we don't have the brain wiring to stop ourselves. It's effectively a form of addiction. And so, in a way, you could say it's not your fault, but it is actually our fault because we've got to get to a point where we are in control. You mentioned I love my parents, but they gave more than life itself, but they gave me whatever I wanted in terms of food. There were no restrictions really. And again, just to kind of make the point there is nothing here that is like your parents tried to or you were trying to. We're all just doing the best. Like we're all actually just doing the best that we can. That's it. But are we ready to say, my best is all that I've currently got? Or imagine we just said, our goal is to elevate our status 1 or 2 or 3 levels above what we got. Not for anyone else, but for our kids. Sheree says, guys, any comments? There's still 20 people watching on live. So any other comments that you want me to kind of make or deal with, or even disagreements? I love disagreements because I think it adds some balance. There might be some stuff here that's just, again, this is my opinion. It's not fact. My son referred 3 games of soccer. I made him a pack in reflection of what I have. Yeah, beef jerky, fruits, yep. He could then back up games he's fueled inside and out, made his adrenaline shine. Things I never knew about. And this is the great thing, Sheree, is that like the things that we're teaching, like it's not like trying to teach your kids code, right? I don't know if anyone here has tried to learn code or even learn finance. These, like accounting, these things are hard skills to learn. Language, like my God, these are hard things to learn. What we're talking about here is like simple skills. People always want these like hacks or these cheat codes, but the reality is if I can just give them to you in like a basic sense, stop drinking calorie-laden fluids, all right? Juices. You see the kids sitting there drinking their apple juice. Hey, can I share with you guys something? And this is the challenge of exposure by other people. When, we first have Ocean, for the first year and a half, I used to catch her papa, which is her nan. Like one of the things that she knew that she could do is go to nan and get a popper of apple juice, right? And it was really awkward for me to say to her nan, who's my mother-in-law, stop doing that. Like, stop giving her the apple juice. And then I'd see a little sneak of like biscuits and shit, just like constantly. Why? Because her relationship with her nan is so tight and so beautiful. It's just like, it's beautiful. And I don't want to detract from that. But at the same account, it is my responsibility. Even though it's awkward, it's my responsibility to say, hey, stop that. Stop it. I do not want that happening. And Nan's been a little bit trained. Still catches her off it every now and then, but not as much. And I'm almost happy on the occasions that it slips through because I can see that behind that is that like second guessing of like, oh, okay, stop feeding the apple juice, stop feeding the apple juice, stop feeding the apple juice. Right? So for me, like there's a what's the word? It's an interval. It's not black or white. Okay? It's not I'm good or I'm bad. We can just all move ourselves along that health intelligence, myself included. We all move ourselves along that health intelligence, given an increase in skill set, allows us to pass on those skills. And that is beautiful. Guys, I'm going to cut it off there because there's still 15 people watching on live, but unless you're kind of got anything else you want to discuss or talk about, then I'll leave it there. Let us know if this episode has been helpful or made you just like think about your potential power in a different way. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is about. This is about like, imagine, this is the way, it sounds like a silly example, but the way I think about this is think of how quickly COVID swept the world. Like, remember the COVID days? Okay, yeah, they're still around a little bit, but remember the COVID days? COVID, like it was like, they call it the R1 value or something like that. How quickly it transmitted from person to person. Imagine we had that same level as a society of transmission of awareness or education. I'll keep trying to do this from a global perspective, and I need to get better because at the moment I lack the skill set and the mindset to be able to do this on a global level. I'm trying to develop it every day, but I'm not there yet. So I try to do it inside of our community, our academy. And if we can sweep through our academy with more people listening to these podcasts, more people like Cherie sharing about their journey and then talking to their kids and then talking to their neighbor. And that's where it starts, like the value of like, kind of like COVID, it's spreading, but it's a good thing. Anyway, guys, I'm going to love you and leave you there. Have a beautiful morning. Thanks for coming into the podcast. I hope it's been beneficial, and I'll see you in the next episode.